Chase Elliott has made his long-waited return back to NASCAR. NASCAR themselves had decided to make a couple rules changes and adjustments, and we're 25% through the season, so we talked to you about stock up and stock down. All this on Stuck in the Catchfence. Welcome, everyone. This is Stuck in the Catchfence. My name is Ryan Peters. I'm joined by Senor, the owner, the CEO, the videographer, the expert, the best middle school football coach in all the country, Joe Spillman.
Well, Ryan, thanks for those kind words. As you know, I was fired from my middle school coaching job. So I don't know if that's true. Something about an 0-74 record over the past.
We should talk off air more often.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
That's a my bad.
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, I told you the next time you headbutted the kid with a concussion that he probably wasn't going to wake back up.
Well, I'm just saying stop being so soft. I mean, get out there and play. You only get to do this once. You're only in middle school one time, Ryan.
Yeah,
and as you know, those middle school football games will affect you for the rest of your life. And if you can't take them seriously, I don't have any time for you.
That's right. And if you got cerebral palsy, you take your walker out there and you catch the football and you go as far as you can.
That's right. So disability.
Yeah. Football for everyone is what I was told. But this is a NASCAR show, Joe, and we're going to jump right into it with a quick question. My question for you is, what is your all-time favorite memory from the track we're going to this weekend in Martinsville?
Yeah. There's a lot of memories from Martinsville, but I think our channel just put a short out on my all-time favorite memory of Martinsville, and that's what year was that? Was that 2018 or 17? I can't remember.
I believe it was 2018.
2018. Matt Kenseth gets wrecked by Joey Logano at Kansas, and the next week he decides to end Joey Logano's day at Martinsville. Just basic pit maneuver takes them out. It was great. I know Joey wasn't too happy about it. The crowd was ecstatic about that little move, though. I remember, but I actually think that little move ran Matt Kenseth out in NASCAR.
It pretty much did until Kyle Larson used some words that allowed him to at least go back into NASCAR for a very brief moment. But you're right, it most certainly kicked him out of a JGR ride. It kicked him out of the championship. Well, he was already out because, as you can tell in the short that you watch him, he doesn't have a hood.
No.
So he decided, well, my day's going to get better because it's gotten worse, and I'm going to take out Joey Logano. And everybody unanimously all agreed that was a great move. And there's been a lot of moments. I remember Jeff Gordon in his final season. I believe he wanted Martinsville to make it to the playoffs. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere. You obviously last year have Hail Melon, where, Joe, you sent me messages that I'm not allowed to say on air. And I said things that I'm not allowed to say on air if we want to stay in the good graces of the people that do YouTube.
That's another good one, too. But that one's so recent, I don't think you could throw that in your all-time favorites. 10 years from now, that may be my best Martinsville memory. I just think that's too recent.
The one that I'm going to choose, and only because it made me laugh, and gun to my head, Joe, I'm choosing yours. I mean, that was like the biggest boss move ever by Matt Kenseth. But the one that made me laugh the most was whenever Denny Hamlin was upset and had a beef with Chase Elliott, and Denny Hamlin, who's from Virginia, got out of his car, talked about getting hit, and goes, "They show track racing for you." And I don't know what about that interview it was, Joe. That was the funniest. I laughed so when he did that. I'll never forget it as long as I live. So that's going to be the one that I choose.
Denny Hamlin's a D-bag in the first place, but whatever.
Got booed. So he still gets booed at Martinsville for doing that.
As he should.
Well, Joe, we have some huge news, so let's get right to it. You can check the thumbnail. We just alluded to said driver a little bit, but NASCAR welcomes back the most popular driver in the sport, Chase Elliott, has went on to his social media. He has let everybody know that he will be at Martinsville. I think some of us are a little surprised that it's a week earlier than what maybe the timeline we thought originally stated, which it would be closer to Talladega. If you think about it from a driver's standpoint, it probably makes more sense to come back at
Yeah.
Talladega in terms of having a foot injury. But Joe, what does this mean for the sport with Chase Elliott now coming back and will be present here this weekend?
Well, I think one, it means a little bit better ticket sales, maybe some better ratings. As you know, the ratings haven't been great. We've talked about that a little bit here on our channel, but NASCAR, the ratings are underwhelming this year to say the least. And I think Chase Elliott's been a big part of that because obviously he's the fan favorite right now. He's the draw to the sport. And I actually am going to kind of though sway away from your thoughts on Talladega being a good place for him to come back. I actually think Martinsville is a perfect place. I mean, we're talking about speeds 89 to just barely over 100 miles an hour if they're lucky this week, and you don't really see too many catastrophic wrecks at Martinsville. You see some bumping and you see running into the wall and things like that, but I think that this is a perfect place that if he is going to go out and get into something, he doesn't necessarily have to worry about any re-injury this week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the only reason why I mentioned Talladega, and that's because of the 2-foot driving that he'll have to do. I believe it was his left leg that he ended up breaking, and it's going to require back and forth the entire time. So just from a pain management standpoint, and only Chase Elliott knows what he can handle. And obviously, it wasn't as gruesome as Kyle Busch, but I mean, Kyle Busch's first win came back at Sonoma, and he said that he pretty much went numb the last 3 laps
Right.
because he was in so much pain. So that being said, my expectations for Chase Elliott is usually he does pretty good at Martinsville. I don't know if I'm willing to say he jumps right back in and competes with his teammates in William Byron, Kyle Larson, and I think Alex Bowman has a really good chance this week. And I think I would probably put him fourth, and I would accept a top 10 finish. Is that too low considering what we've seen out of Hendrick, or do you think that that's appropriate?
No, I think that's appropriate his first race back. I mean, we don't know what he's been doing on the simulator, and I think Chase Elliott's Chase Elliott. He might come out and win this thing. It's I think he won here a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
And actually, I think Kyle Larson may be the only Hendrick driver that hasn't won at Martinsville. Maybe.
Right.
I think that's right. And if it's not right, I'm just going to go with it anyway. But I'm pretty sure that's right. So Chase Elliott's Chase Elliott. He might come out. He might have a great car. He might do really well here. Or, his marching orders might just be get out there and run some laps, get a feel back for this car, get a feel back for this thing, do the best you can, but don't push it. So we'll have to see. I guess we'll find out here very shortly. You'll be there to see it, I guess.
Yeah, I will be there. And I want to thank everybody else that's joined us so far. If you've made it and enjoy what you're listening to so far, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel here. We'd love to have you stick around for Stuck in the Catch Fence and, get all of today's breaking news that we are able to fit in with you. NASCAR betting. We're going to talk the Indy 500 and a bunch of other stuff later on, as the months go on. But back to the Chase Elliott subject, I think about Joe, you looked like you're getting ready to explode with excitement. What
No,
was that?
no. And a lot of people don't know this that watch our channel, because we don't talk about it a lot, but we're radio people for the most part, and radio people that have a passion for NASCAR. But I have learned, Ryan, that on YouTube, you say, smash that subscribe button. So,
We're going Zoomer.
yeah, I think we should do that. Smash that subscribe button.
I refuse.
Okay. Well, I'm good with that too. Go ahead.
Yeah. So tickle the subscribe button if you want to stay around and catch more NASCAR.
Quit it.
And maybe awful jokes. Sometimes we even record things or we hear some stuff that we don't even know if we should share. So we're deciding on those type of things too, but also have some great crashes that we're going to talk about, especially on Father's Day weekend when we
Yeah,
have an open weekend that we can go through that. Joe, I have a technological advancement coming my way,
I
so I'm going to be
know.
able to
You're getting
stream the race and talk to people while it's happening. So a lot of good stuff
internet.
coming to the channel.
Internet.
Woo!
I
So
know. You're
I
doing
think
this
Joe,
via satellite phone right now.
I think one thing for sure that just happened with Chase Elliott coming back. Now 50-plus-year-old men have a reason to tell their wives they have to go back to Hooters to,
Yeah.
support Chase Elliott, not because, it's creepy and, they keep wanting to get that 16-year-old slash 19-year-old who lied on her, resume phone
He's
number,
just paying for
who's now,
college.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
7 weeks
The
pregnant, but,
same rules apply. I've learned this. The same rules apply at Hooters as they do in the strip club.
oh,
Whenever a
okay.
waitress at Hooters tells you they like you, it's time to leave.
Okay. I'm going to get my yellow flag a little bit closer than I normally have it. So let's just do that. Uh, that I'll have to take your word for it. I'll have to take your word for it. So Chase Elliott, I think Joe, you mentioned it just for a brief second. I don't think anybody's going to be more excited for Chase Elliott coming back than Fox
Yeah.
because, like you said, their ratings have been down, and I think that's understandable. They also decide to have night races on a Sunday when everybody has to work the next day and also get together with their family. So NASCAR's kind of shot themselves in the foot when it comes to those type of things. But I'm actually excited to see from a competition standpoint, how much faster is Chase Elliott when it comes to his teammates? Because Hendrick has been, to me, head and shoulders above anybody else. Does Chase Elliott just jump right in and get back to that competitive level? Is he able to stay with a William Byron? I told you I don't think he is, at least initially. I think William Byron's had some great speed, shown the ability to stay up front. Kyle Larson's already led the second most amount of laps this year. That's a tall task, not only to be competitive, Joe, but to be competitive at Hendrick Racing.
No, I agree. Or, maybe, I mean, let's be realistic about this. Maybe Hendrick just gives uh, Elliott
Oh
his car
boy.
back.
Oh boy.
So say, William, you don't get Chase's car this week. You got to take your own. No,
Because Denny
I
Hamlin said they just do a Russian roulette when it comes to
right,
cars.
right. And Denny Hamlin's a liar. But no, in all seriousness, though, you are absolutely right, Ryan. At the end of the day, it's going to be very difficult, I think, for him after his extended absence to jump back in a car and compete at the highest level that he can compete at. I don't think it'll take him long to get back in racing shape, I guess we'll say. But I think, this week, I think you've got to maybe temper your expectations of Chase Elliott. But in all reality, Kyle Busch had an extended absence several years ago, and he came right out of the gate at full steam. So, you never know what we're going to see. What did he win? 3 races after he came back?
He won, I believe, at one point won 5 in a row
Okay.
because
Yeah.
he
3 in
had
a
to
row,
do
5.
amazing things to get into the top 30
Right.
because he had a DNF early as well. I believe at Charlotte, and it took a lot for
Right.
him to he had to do amazing things to get back into the top 30 with the amount of time that he's missed.
Right.
Now, that's a great segue, Joe, because you don't have to do that this year. And
No,
NASCAR granted him a playoff waiver. So the only thing he's got to do is win a race.
I think he's going to
And
win 2, but
well, okay. So you think there's going to be more than 16 drivers win a race. So you think that he has to
yeah.
solidify himself with 2, and that's fair enough. But it will be very, very difficult to get into the points. And because of the amount of time that he's missed. He should be able to beat Colleague Racing, who are in negative points at one point. Except until this past week where Justin Haley got me 5 points to Joe. So thank you. Tip of the hat to you on that. So we'll get to that later. But no, I think everybody, especially Chase Elliott Nation, is excited to be back. Obviously, not a lot of people showed up to Bristol, but I think we're going to see a lot of people show up to Martinsville, and we should have a really, really, really good crowd. I'm sure Martinsville themselves are very excited at that news because that probably pumped up sales and possibly some second ticket sales as well. One little piece of news before we move into our second topic, and that was Cody Ware. If you did not hear about that. There was a reason why he did not show up to race, and that was because he got in some legal trouble. So he has been suspended indefinitely about from NASCAR. NASCAR has the ability when you are charged with a crime to suspend you indefinitely. We could have maybe a discussion one day off the cuff about, kind of painting drivers or athletes into a picture before the court of law lets its due process go. Not at all defending Cody Ware, but Joe, obviously, just a fundamental difference when it comes to how the law is supposed to be applied versus the court of public opinion. But
Right.
nonetheless, Cody Ware is now facing some serious allegations, Joe. So I would be very surprised if we see him for the rest of the year.
No, I agree. And just in my everyday work life, knowing what he was charged with, um, and actually arrested for, I think that it's pretty safe to say usually when you are charged with crimes of that nature, the probable cause to charge you with those crimes are usually a little bit above probable cause. So I would say that, you know, everybody has their day in court. I get that. You're innocent until proven guilty. But for the most part, no matter how your thoughts are on the legal system, most of the time innocent people don't get arrested. So,
And I agree with you 100%. At least they don't get charged with that type of crime. You're right.
right,
And don't put words in my mouth on what I'm not saying.
right,
I'm saying that, you know, I wish that we would rush to do due process
right.
more, but
Well,
again, we'll save that for
and
a different.
we, yeah, because I mean it could be a discussion. At the end of the day, it's Cody Ware. It's not like he has a huge impact on the Cup Series, but also we only hear the circumstances that the national media wants you to hear. For the most part, you get your hands on a probable cause affidavit, and that's only going to list the probable cause for his arrest. It's not going to go into much detail with the mitigating factors around it. So, at the end of the day, maybe not rush to too much judgment, because and I will say this: sometimes crimes on the surface sound a lot worse by their name than what they actually are, if that makes sense. So,
Right, right. You would know way more about that than
so
myself.
yeah, but and I don't know the law in the state he was arrested in. I don't know the classification of the crimes that they go by. I will just say normally when it's a domestic or a battery incident involving a woman, and I believe that's actually what his crime was classified as.
Yeah,
Normally arrests aren't made on that unless it's pretty concrete. So and I'll leave it at that because, like I said, it's not fair to anybody in this country that's still America to rush to judgment. And we can all have our opinion. That's fine, but
right.
he still gets his day in court to find out what actually is going on there. But I think
Exactly.
indefinite suspension is appropriate.
Right. And like I said, I don't expect him to race again in NASCAR for the rest of the season. Like things are going to come down legally whether he races again. Again, his dad owns the team, so that changes things a little bit. But what we do know is somebody else is going to have to finish in last place this week. That being said, Zane Smith will have an opportunity to race in a Cup car, Joe. And I think that is some big news when it comes to Ford trying to push a driver who won the Truck Series last year, won the Daytona race to begin this year. Zane Smith has a real opportunity to show what kind of talent he has now in the Cup Series.
Yeah, yeah, my boy will be happy about that one.
Yeah, yes, he will. He actually got to meet Zane Smith
He
and
did.
get his John Hancock
Right.
autograph.
Yeah,
Sorry, don't
yeah,
don't
autograph.
don't subtitle us and
It's
put
Herbie.
us in jail. What?
It's Herbie.
Herbie?
Never
What is
seen Tom?
that?
Have you never seen Tommy Boy?
I'm sorry.
Come on, man. Get out of here. Just go back to what you were doing.
I'm sorry. That's 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 probably a black flag. I should be parked.
My Lord.
I've been doing more doing papers for drugs than I have watching
Yeah.
Tommy Boy.
Yeah. A lot of people go to college for 8 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
Sorry. I love Chris Farley, but I've never seen Tommy Boy. So I guess we're
Jeez.
gonna move on that sad note. And now
Man.
I have homework. So The next topic I want to talk to you, Joe, is something you've been clamoring for. NASCAR has made a revision to its appeals process, and now they're the way that NASCAR has aligned it. Let me read it so that I don't screw it up, which I'm very capable of doing. NASCAR will now require its appeals panel to give a reason when modifying a penalty. And if the appeals panel determines a team committed a violation it is accused of by NASCAR, then the panel cannot completely rescind any category of the penalty. It can only adjust when the range prescribed in the NASCAR rulebook. Why is that relevant? Well, because they took away the points penalty for Hendrick and then got him back. And then the appeals process says that that penalty should have been a 75 point penalty or 100. NASCAR wanted 100. The appeals penalty said, well, we're going to take it all away and we're just going to fine them. So now they have decided that you can only rescind what is in that level of the penalty if you're going to modify it. Now, you can take it away if you find them not guilty, but that's not what the appeals panel did. They said they are half guilty or half innocent. Is it a cup of water situation? I don't know.
It may be, yeah.
But Joe, what you've been clamoring for is that if you're going to modify it, please let us know why. Please be open with us. And on top of that, whenever you do have a penalty when it comes to modifying a part, NASCAR has now went back to its table of shame and will show the part on display at the NASCAR hauler so that other people and other teams can walk by it and see exactly what teams did wrong. Joe, I know you're probably not in favor of rules being modified in the middle of the season, but do you think NASCAR did the right thing with this one?
I think NASCAR is a hypocrite with this rule change, and I'll tell you why. They they wanted to change rules, and they wanted more transparency when transparency bit them in the ass. They're not transparent about anything. But you know what? If the transparency bites them in the ass, we have to change the rules. I'm not okay with changing the rules. The only thing that I will say is this pushes any appeal to be an innocent or a guilty or not guilty sort of deal. Either you're guilty or you're not. And we said that about the original penalty. My lord, I can't talk.
So, pentagraph.
Yeah,
Pentagram.
the
Pennsylvania.
You're not helping. I'm over
Things that
here.
start with pen.
I'm over here having a mental stroke, and you're just messing me all up. Yeah,
I watched $25,000 Pyramid at work today. I work at a nursing home, so I'm just trying to help.
No deal, Howie. Anyway, either you committed the penalty or you did not. Man, this is really hard right now. And we talked about that on our show. Radio. Yeah, we talked about that on our show about, either you committed the infraction or you didn't commit the infraction. So it's an all or nothing sort of deal. And I think that this encourages that. If you're going to say, you only half committed the penalty, well, half committing the penalty is still committing the penalty. So you must enforce the rules. If you didn't commit the penalty or for whatever reason, the appeals board says that you have justification for committing your infraction and they're not going to fine you for anything, then so be it. You don't get fined for anything. And I do applaud that. And I think that should have been implemented a long time ago.
So you're saying that NASCAR, because they got shown their hiney, that's why they did it, not because that they feel like this is the right thing to do. It was the only thing that they thought showed a positive light upon themselves due to the fact that the rules are typically very, very vague, and they would have kept it that way if the appeals panel didn't give them the middle finger.
100%.
Okay. I can get behind that. NASCAR rules are very vague, and we've all said that we want more understanding of what that is. Now, we never got any type of explanation about the louvers, but we did with the greenhouse when it comes to the new penalty for Hendrick with Byron and Bowman, which Hendrick decided they're not going to appeal. So I guess they were guilty of that one, which they were, like you said, kind of guilty of the other one. I don't know. Maybe Chad Canals can only cheat so much. I don't know. So
you win some.
They at least gave
some. You win some, you lose some.
You win some, and then you kind of don't lose others. I don't know.
Everybody's
But
cheating, just not everybody gets caught.
that is true. I will agree with that. But Bob Pockrass got information from NASCAR to show why the greenhouse was altered and why it was not within spec. And I think that's what we've been clamoring for. I didn't think NASCAR would take that step, but I also think NASCAR didn't think that the appeals panel would screw them. And that's what they did. They made them look like asses, like you said. And
Right.
then to retaliate, maybe they retaliated with this greenhouse effect thing that everything does, but it's so minuscule. They're like, we're only going to be able to get you back some way or the other. And I guess they kind of did with an L1 penalty versus an L2. But I'm at least I'm glad that NASCAR is asking for more transparency. It's just funny it's out of the appeals panel, but not themselves.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, yeah, I consider myself way more than a casual fan of NASCAR, and I can't tell you that I absolutely understand this new penalty in the first place. So, at the end of the day, there's, even being a fan of NASCAR and even being more than a casual fan, there's things that come out of that rule book sometimes, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? So it's one of those deals. And really, with the new penalty, this is what I've always said about penalties. I think in order for it to be an infraction or a penalty, NASCAR needs to be able to explain why that gives you a competitive advantage. And I've yet to hear why Hendrick had a competitive advantage on this new penalty. Maybe you have done some research or read, and maybe you can enlighten me.
I'm guessing again it's about Arrow because it was through the hood right next to where supposedly the windshield wiper would have sat. So they did some alteration right there. That's considered the greenhouse. But I'm also not a rocket doctor
Right.
or aerospace scientist
Yeah.
or uh I'm not smart. Is that does that cover it?
Well,
I've never been in a wind tunnel. I've been in a tornado maybe, but never a
right.
wind
Yeah.
tunnel. Is
So,
that the same thing? Do
well,
you get to be a wind tunnel specific person like if you're in a tornado? Is that a qualification?
I think so. But I also know this, and I'm wise enough to know that you can't call yourself a dumb person if you have the ability to recognize that there are things that you do not know. So I applaud you on that.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Good job.
I appreciate it. So, you know, NASCAR made a decision, like you said, Joe. If they never got their hind end shown, they probably wouldn't have made an adjustment to their rules book. But they made one at least a little bit more clear, while the rest are completely vague. And we'll probably come back to the rules book at some other point to piss and moan about how NASCAR again didn't stay consistent.
Yeah.
So that being said, if you're still with us, thank you very much. This is Stuck in the Catch Fence. We're glad you're here. You can like and tickle the subscribe button, like Joe says it. Give it a nice little
Yeah. That's how
right
you got
there
to do
on
it.
your computer. Yeah, you got to tickle it. You got to, talk to it softly.
Talk to. I think.
Just
Please don't do that. That's like right in my ear.
subscribe to the channel.
There it goes. I'm not going to bed tonight.
Not by yourself, you're not.
Good Lord, man. You're
So let's move on, Joe, because you're creeping me out. We're
uh,
going to talk about I call it Market Watch, where we now discuss what's going on. We're 25% through the season. It's hard to believe that this will be race number 9. If you stay with us on our points, we've been waiting to this point to now we have to take drivers when it comes to our picks below the top or below the 20. So I want to first take a look at the standings, and we'll see if I'm allowed to do so. I have been given executive power, and here we are. So let me know when you can see that, Joe.
you're welcome. I can see it.
Okay. Is it clear? Is
Oh
it
yeah.
big enough?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All
Talk
right.
about
Good.
whatever it is you're going to talk about.
Okay. So 25% through the season. This is the projected playoff points. Good God, you gave me the studs.
I know.
Um, so
Strokes are contagious.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Uh, this is where we currently sit. Okay, obviously Alex Bowman was way up here, had that points penalty. William Byron did not move too much in the projected playoff points, but currently sits in 14th due to that point penalty. But Joe, I want to talk about people that are rising when it comes to your stocks and what you've seen so far, 25% through the season, and people that are falling. If you want me to go first, I can go first. If you would rather go second, it's up to you. Let me know.
I no, I'll go right off the bat. I'm going to talk about Kevin Harvick.
Okay.
I think Kevin Harvick had a little bit of a rough season last season. Of course, announced his retirement. I'm not a Kevin Harvick fan. As a matter of fact, I was kind of the anti Kevin Harvick. I was a Dale Earnhardt fan, and I was young when that happened, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't uh, see Kevin Harvick coming into the Cup Series like I did. I kind of saw him as a replacement to somebody that should have never been replaced. So
I
I
saw him as
got
a prick.
I that too. Um, but so I kind of shied away from him. Didn't really like him. But as most drivers, the older he's gotten, and the longer he's stuck around, I won't say that I'm a fan of him because I'm not, but he doesn't bother me anymore, if that makes sense. And Kevin Harvick, for being his last season, let's say he's third in points right now, and ninth in playoff points. Am I reading that right? So
It's hard for me to read because I'm dyslexic, but yes,
yes,
he's
so
eighth in projected playoff points and third in regular
and
driver
actual
points.
yeah, and actual points. So I mean, he's having a great season this year. I think he's going to end up coming out with a win. I think he's got a chance to win this week. I can't, off the top of my head, remember if he's ever won at Martinsville. Uh,
He's a good driver at Martinsville,
but okay,
traditionally.
so I think his stock. I kind of had my vision of Kevin Harvick before this season of him probably not finishing in the playoffs, and just kind of thinking, that'd be a good last ride for him to make the playoffs. But I didn't think he was going to get there. I think he's going to get there now. So, in my
Okay.
opinion, I think his stock has risen. I think he's going to win a race, and I think he's going to be high enough in the points that he's going to cement himself into the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, so I one driver that I will say that I don't think is doing as good as I thought that they were going to do this year, based on their performances last year, and that is Corey LaJoy. I really thought Corey LaJoy was going to be a top 10 driver all year. And
So
where's
Corey LaJoy was going to be a top 10 driver.
I did.
Okay.
I thought he was going to be a top 10 in points driver this year. I didn't know if he was going to get a race win, but I saw some things in him last year that I thought that he was going to be on the rise. Where's he at in points?
Right
Where
now he is in 21st.
21st.
He was up there. He was in the top like 12 for a while, and then he has
Okay.
had
And
catastrophic fall.
so, yeah, right. So top 10 might be a little overestimate. I thought he was going to be around the top 15. I'll say this. I thought that he would hang around and he would be in a position to be in the top 16 to make it in with points if that was an option. I don't know that he'll get a win this year. If he does, obviously he'll probably get into the playoffs. But I thought that he would be a little bit better this year. And then also right next to him, 22nd in points, I thought Austin Dillon would probably have stepped up his game a little bit this year, bringing on Kyle Busch. I thought that they would run together. I thought that they would work with each other. I know he's not the caliber of driver as Kyle Busch, but at the end of the day, I thought that he would benefit from Kyle Busch coming on, and it would help him out. And that doesn't seem the case, other than this week at Bristol Dirt. He ran a really great race.
Right. Right. The driver that, I have stock that I'm raising on, and I didn't think I'd get to this point because I thought winning the opening race of the season was an anomaly. But Ricky Stenhouse has actually been doing pretty solid this year. He ended up having a really good race this past weekend. He's 13th in driver points, Joe, and that I think needs to be thought about a little bit more. We see him right now ninth in the playoff points, but being 13th in drivers points, showing some speed at short tracks, Ricky Stenhouse, I think so far he's really surprised me, Joe. I thought he would be the Michael McDowell. He'd be hanging around down here, getting that win from the Daytona 500, but be hanging around 23rd, 22nd. And the fact that he's in the teens, I think adds some more justification to the fact that not only did he win the Daytona 500, but he's actually been solid. And that is the point, that you have to be solid. So, I will give Ricky Stenhouse his due diligence because, he's been solid. And the other team that I want to give, just shout out to stock way up, and I've said it already, RFK. Brad Keselowski in ninth, Christopher Buescher, in 15th in the playoff points. Brad Keselowski, 11th in the playoff points. These are two drivers that were way, way, way outside the top 25 last year. They had a penalty. They didn't always look fast. The year started, Joe, with neither of them making the freaking race for the Clash. I said, oh boy, here we go again. And now they find themselves at the season ended today, both making it on points. And I don't think a lot of people had that. Even Alex Bowman, you give back the penalty. Buescher is sitting at 16th, so he would still be in. You know, and my last little credence I'll give to is Ty Gibbs has been really consistent lately. His stock is rising. He's proving he deserves to be in a NASCAR ride compared to what happened at the beginning of the season. He had a string of 4 top 10s taken away this past weekend at Bristol Dirt. Obviously, that's probably a new race for him because they don't do that in the Xfinity Series. But he also wasn't terrible. I mean, he could have looked like Joey Logano this past week and was in the wall 25 times, but he wasn't. He did enough. My stock down, and I think this is pretty simple because I've told you this is a driver I really like and a team that I thought would be a lot better. Eric Jones at 26 and Noah Gragson at 30th for Legacy Motor Club. And maybe that's why they suck, is because that name is terrible. After, coming from Petty GMS, Joe, they have been awful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking one top 10 between the two cars. And Jimmy Johnson made it one lap at COTA.
He didn't even make the lap.
Half a lap.
Yeah.
At COTA. And has been absolutely horrendous. I am just shocked by that. I thought Eric Jones would be much, much better. And I don't want to pick on him while he's down, but we've been waiting for Bubba Wallace to be more consistent, to have better speed. There's no reason every single year that we continue to justify his teammate being up 5th in points, 3rd in playoffs, and the same exact equipment being down in 24th and 24th.
Yeah, we could justify it. He's not a Cup Series caliber driver.
I understand that, Joe, but you post a short like we do today, and somehow whenever it comes to Eric or Matt Kenseth wrecking Joey Logano, somebody put on there, well, you all celebrated that, but whenever Bubba Wallace does it to Kyle Larson, you all complain. And I'm just there's some people who make a living on the internet bringing Bubba Wallace into every situation from a negative standpoint, and there's also people that bring Bubba Wallace to defend him on every standpoint. The proof is in the pudding when it comes to what he is as a driver. I just don't see it. I don't understand why he's that polarizing, why he decides to be the face of NASCAR for, the executives, and, they get paid a hell of a lot more than I do. But again, it's right there. His teammate is kicking his hind end again. He's been way more consistent. And, I just don't see how you can't say that that's not incredibly disappointing if you're Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe he sells hellacious merchandise. Maybe he's the Danica Patrick of merchandise. I have no idea.
I find that hard to believe that
it's not from when we went.
I know you do too. Like what we say in Atlanta, you saw 3 people. I didn't see anybody. You saw 3 people wearing a Bubba Wallace shirt, and I'll tell you what, their trailer, their merchandise trailer, didn't have anybody there looking at Bubba Wallace stuff. I can tell you that.
No. So I mean, we're now 25% in through the season, so that's kind of where I sit right now. With my stock up, stock down. We'll get back to this about halfway through when we get to the halfway point to see what's changed, and we'll go from there. But Joe, we're headed to the paperclip this week. let's go ahead and do a recap from what happened last week. And it was an absolute ass beaten by me to Joe last week. Joe made an audible and said we're allowed to choose a driver that consists of 5 times the points. And unfortunately for Joe, he decided to go along with that. So we were separated by 2 points last week. It was 32-30. And then I chose Chase Briscoe, 2 points. Tyler Reddick, 2 points. Justin Haley finished in 6th place. So that was 5 points. And Christopher Bell ended up getting the win. That was 5 points. That gave me 14 points. Joe, you chose Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and Chris Buescher. Only Chase Briscoe got you 2 points. So I have a hefty 14-point lead. So from this moment,
I feel
life has begun.
I feel like I'm in the Tiger King right now. I should be saying I'm never financially recover from this.
Yeah, he might actually share a cell with Cody Ware.
Oh,
So after hearing that, the news that you never thought you would hear, where I was probably plus 700 to win this year, and that's probably being generous. Where do you want to go first when it comes to Martinsville, or would you rather me shoot my shot?
you can go ahead and pick, and I'm going to take everybody you do.
Okay, that's fine with me. That actually has worked out pretty well for me. If you
No,
do that the rest of the year,
no,
we'll be all right.
no, I'll go ahead and do mine first. If you want me to, just so you know, I'm not playing your scheming little game, and I will come back from this. How much am I down?
Joe, I don't doubt that.
How much am I down?
14.
Okay, and we have to pick a current driver outside of the top 20 right now, correct?
That is correct.
Right on. So this week I am going to go with I don't know why I didn't take Christopher Bell last week. Christopher Bell got a win at Martinsville last year. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell this year. I think he won the second race last year, if I'm not mistaken.
He had to win to make it to the Final Four.
Oh,
yes,
okay,
and he did.
Yep. Well, I don't know why I forgot that either. I'm also going to take Martin Truex this week. I think he's a 3 or 4 time winner at Martinsville. As you know, I like past winners. I think whenever you're betting on a NASCAR race, you know, unless it's a super speedway, especially short tracks, past winners are usually a good road to take. I'm looking at my options here. When's the last time Kyle Busch won here? I feel like it's been several years ago.
It's been a while.
It has been. I know it's been less than 10 years ago.
That is true. Yes.
Sure. I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. I think he's running well. That gives me 3, correct?
Yes, sir.
Ooh. Man. You know what? Give me Kyle Larson this week as well. I don't think he's ever got a good or a win. I know he hasn't got a win at Martinsville, but you know, it's a short track, and I think he's getting the short track thing figured out in the next gen car. So I will take Kyle Larson, and then I need one outside the top 20. I may need a little help again. See where we're at on the top 20 here. Try to speed this up because. All right. Yeah. That's pretty easy for me right there. You know what? Give me Austin Dillon this week. I will take Austin Dillon.
All right.
Maybe.
So
maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take him.
All right. Final answer.
Final answer. I'll take him.
Okay. So I am going to go with, we only have one driver in common. Do you want to guess who that is?
Probably Martin Truex.
No. I don't know if I've ever taken Martin Truex because he is the reason why
Chris,
I got absolutely
no, that was a dumb answer. That was a dumb answer because I know you don't pay attention to past winners as much as I do. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell.
That is correct. Christopher Bell is the one that we share. My other driver, you mentioned it earlier when talking about Stock Up, Kevin Harvick. I like him this week. Alex Bowman has done a good job at Martinsville previously. William Byron actually got met or no, it was Alex Bowman that got met by Denny Hamlin after Alex Bowman won the race for Denny Hamlin to have another reason to be booed. So I do like Alex Bowman. I mentioned it a second ago. William Byron, I think, has been really good at short tracks so far this year, and has completely showed speed. So I'm going to go with him. And then we mentioned it on Stock Down. He needs to turn his season around. Typically, I think he's pretty solid at this racetrack. I'm going to go with Eric Jones for my choice outside of the top 20. So that is where we are at on our picks. Joe, you need a big week, and
I do
with
need
the
a big
amount of
week.
difference that we have, you absolutely could get it.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like we should start making these picks after qualifying.
No,
Okay.
we do our betting that way. So,
I think we should get one audible after qualifying.
and if you want to stay for our betting, which it might be hard this week, I will try to do it if you want to, Joe, to try to do a betting show. If you want to do it solo and do a FanDuel Live, I can send it into you and you can look at it that way. It's up to you.
Well, we could try it. I mean, I'm not opposed to. I know you'll be on the road, but we could give it a go.
Okay. All
So
right. That sounds good. We'll do that from my
I hear.
motel that we're paying for, and I don't know if you know this, we have to pay by the hour.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you go with 17 frat boys to a NASCAR race.
Oh, oh,
I don't think you know what you're in for.
I don't
Take a rain
I don't
take a
know if I
raincoat.
want to be in for.
Yeah,
I don't want to be anything.
you might want to take a raincoat.
A raincoat? Yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably right. So, again, stay in for that. If you made it this far, again, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Like this channel if you would, this video, you can share it out. You can comment with your 5 drivers, and also make sure you tickle the subscribe button. Stick around for content as well.
Please, if you make it this far in the video, please comment with your 5 drivers. If you happen to beat Ryan and I, this week with your 5 drivers, we will gladly give you that credence on the show.
If you beat my 5 drivers, I will personally send you a Martinsville hot dog.
Yeah, frozen.
No.
Yes.
No. It is lukewarm. It will be dripping when it gets to your house, and it will be I can only guess as good as maybe a red hot dog can be.
Yeah.
That being said, this show, like all good things, has come to a close. Thank you for joining us. This has been Stuck in the Catch Fence. So,